Hello. Welcome back to Cryptomentals. Today is Friday, August 29th, 2025. And sitting here at 11 a.m. Eastern time, so a couple hours after the market open. And today was PCE inflation data. No huge surprise there, just came out as forecasted, but inflation has ticked up over the last couple months. And you can see the market didn't love it. Bitcoin on the screen here, down like 2.5% on the day, just getting shit on right at the moment. And there was a slight pop up on the news, and then everything rolled over. But in the bigger picture, things had already kind of rolled over, and we're in sort of a medium term downtrend here ever since the all-time high that came in 2 weeks ago when they ripped Bitcoin up to about 124,500 and then just promptly got rejected here at a break to a new all-time high. I think they attributed that to some huge whale selling an enormous amount of Bitcoin, if I remember correctly, but who knows? Point being is tested the all-time high again and got rejected, and now I see this megaphone pattern, which is an ugly pattern, and I do think we're going to bottom somewhere down here into September. You know, typically September is not a great month for markets in general. I don't expect anything different to happen this year. I do think we'll probably carve out some sort of bottom next month before ripping higher down the road into the end of the year. So there's a Fed meeting in the middle of September with the interest rate announcement. Everybody's sort of hinging on some rate cut, and there's a lot of hopium for that rate cut, and I think it likely will. I think rates will likely be cut, and we'll see how much that juices the market. I'm a little worried because there's just so much hopium around it. Makes me think it'll be a non-event somewhat. But nonetheless, I think the broader cycle is just at work here, and I do expect this bottom to come in against this trend line. And more importantly, just a test of this 38.2 to potentially even 50% level zone here. You know, in a strong uptrend like we've been, I mean, clearly Bitcoin's been in a higher highs and higher lows scenario for quite a while here. And I don't see a real market top here. And I have a lot of reasons why I don't think that top's in right now. I'm not going to get into all of those right now, but just in general, I don't think the top is in for this cycle. And so I'm looking for a potential long opportunity as we come down into this zone. And so that's 105,390 down to about 100K. And I think against this trend line is likely where we'll bottom. So I think jumping in long right here, I think is dangerous, especially heading into September. I think being patient is key here and waiting for some sort of support to come in here along this trend line before stepping in on like swing longs. So that's what I'm doing. One more thing on this too. Is just throw these moving averages on here for a little bit of confluence, and you can see the 200 period daily moving average here just kind of grinding higher into this zone, and ultimately as the time moves on it'll keep pushing higher a little bit here. And so I think, you know, again, a test of that 200 is likely, and it's likely that's where the bottom does come in as well. You can see how in the last time it was tested, it actually lost it for a bit and had to reclaim it, and it's always a possibility. But I do think just time-wise, it's likely that bottom comes in above the 200 just to start the last rip up into the end of the year. We'll see what happens. These other moving averages, might as well point them out, clearly have rolled over. The short and medium term pink and light blue here are rolled over and pointing down and acting as resistance. And this purple line's a 50 period moving average, which is actually lost, you know, price lost it and got rejected off of it. Not a great sign. And you can, you know, ultimately what will happen is I think like this 50 will sort of roll over kind of, and then this 200 will go higher, and ultimately they'll somehow meet somewhere in here and hopefully push higher if you are a bull. So a lot of banging around in here is to be expected over the next month, I'd say. And moving on to Ethereum. I mean, this is going to be the same idea for all of these charts, actually. Well, for at least Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. You know, just still looking for a bottom in the September kind of time frame. The next higher low that comes in is the next like swing long opportunity, in my opinion. Ethereum looks a little different than Bitcoin, and sadly, I mean, Ethereum just had no strength above the all-time high did finally tick higher, and actually did it first on the 22nd of August, and then got rejected, and then pushed up again through it on the 20. What day was that? 24th of August, but just no strength above there. Couldn't even close a candle above that old all-time high. And sort of hilariously, I mean, Ethereum clearly has been the narrative the last few months here, especially the last 2 months, as all these digital asset treasury companies have been loading up hard and sort of fueling this rip. But ironically, just Ethereum hasn't done anything since like November of 2021. I mean, you look at a weekly chart, and we're getting rejected at the all-time highs. And two, the last all-time high goes all the way back to November of 21. So if you bought the top in November of 2021, you're just barely getting to break even now here so many years later. So even though we had this epic move, Ethereum hasn't done a lot, which is just kind of a funny thought. And I think in general, we'll probably push higher here. I don't think the cycle's over yet. If anything, I'd like to see a bit of a cleaning up here to set up the next rip. And 38.2 in the case of Ethereum is quite a bit lower, and I do think it's likely we'll tag that. That's a lot lower, and that's more like $3,600 and below, down to 3,200 for the 50% level. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just completely rip this thing down there before this like September bottom comes in. But we'll see what happens. Again, this was fueled by the DAT companies. And I do want to just point out, without getting way into that, like if you look at Blockworks here, I think I have it pulled up. Blockworks has this nice list of the treasury companies, and you can look at these MNAVs. And I'm not going to read into this too much, but really you want to see MNAV above 1. You can see how MicroStrategy, or Strategy as they're called, I guess these days, obviously they're the kings of the DAT, and they've been at it for a while, and clearly the leader. And even they're down at 1.36 now, so still trading at quite a premium. But of course, BMNR is Tom Lee's Ethereum reserve, which has been sort of the rocket fuel for this recent run up, I'd say, in Ethereum, and it's already dipping below 1. And so there's no premium there at all. And then you can go down the list and you start seeing a lot of these are below 1. So not a great sign for these treasury companies. And I think that can be better reflected in just like, I mean, look at the stock. Look at some of the stocks like BMNR just getting destroyed here after that huge run up. So of course the premium was high on these big run ups. The MNAV was high, and now this thing's just getting hammered. And a huge gap down here. And I don't know, do these things come all the way back down? That's not going to be great for the market. And these things definitely introduce some sort of froth into the market that I can't say I love. It's funny because it's like institutional froth. Like retail hasn't really been involved in this crypto cycle so much. And yet we're getting this sort of institutional froth with, like, of course, Tom Lee going out and saying some sensational things on a daily basis on the news and wherever he's welcome to be interviewed. I don't know. I like Tom Lee, but I mean, it sort of seems like a disaster. I mean, one that's even worse is a newer issue, this ETHZilla. Like this was I think 1-800 Life Sciences or something company that they rebranded and have, just recently sort of launched as ETHZilla, and this thing's just getting crushed too. Had a huge move though, to be fair. I mean, this thing ripped all the way from like less than $1 up to $17 and then just completely got crushed. Of course, this happened back here too in October. I don't know what they were up to back then. I don't think they were on the Ethereum game. It's funny, I've listened to several podcasts lately about these, and I listened to one with the guy from this company, and it was funny because he was bullish as hell, obviously. And never once did he mention the stock price, which makes me laugh. It's like never once was he like, oh, we had this huge run up and now the price has come all the way down. He never even talked about that at all. He just talked about how great Ethereum is and how they're loading up and how they can't, how they can't lose, basically. It'll be interesting going forward to see which one of these blows up. I bet one of them does. It probably won't be the top ones. Like, of course, Strategy is going to survive. And then going back to my chart, the Blockworks chart here, probably Tom Lee will survive. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these smaller ones get crushed and maybe blow up here. And that could actually put in this crypto top. Like, I wouldn't be surprised whenever this cycle top does come in, it might be around sort of like these things blowing up. We'll see. And then funny enough, the last thing I'll say about this is now they're starting to move into Solana. So they kind of like roasted the ETH treasuries, and then now they're moving into Solana. Like this UPixie is one, and then you could see there's three Solana on this list. Well, more if I start scrolling down, but I think the DAT du jour is Solana right now. They're moving on to those, and that makes, I'll just move. That's enough about Ethereum anyway. I'll move on to Solana, which clearly had shown some strength here, and it still is outperforming. I mean, you look at this chart compared to Ethereum and Bitcoin, and it's looking a lot better. That's the weekly chart. Moving to the daily, you can see it's still coming off today, but that's after breaking a new high here in this recent run up. So Solana is definitely looking stronger, and maybe this is fueled by these DATs. And of course, the narrative sort of shifted to Solana from Ethereum, and well, first from Bitcoin to Ethereum, then now to Solana. It looks like, and you can really see that in terms of like if you look at like Solana versus Ethereum, for example, a nice breakout here, a nice W breakout, and a push higher. So it seems like Solana is stronger at the moment. Still down 3% on the day, just like Bitcoin and Ethereum, but just a nicer looking chart in general. So we'll see. Now, I'll just add that Solana, unfortunately, isn't anywhere near its all-time highs, and if anything, we've carved out a range here, and we're pushing into sort of the top end of the range. So it's dangerous to be longing Solana right here. If anything, we're about to hit 61.8. So I would imagine we'll rip up into 61.8. I don't think we've actually tagged it yet. And I think we'll probably see the September sluggishness in Solana once it looks like we almost did hit it, but maybe is that close enough? But either way, I imagine there'll be some sort of a rejection around this 61.8 level. But in general, higher highs and higher lows, and I think Solana's still got plenty of room to move higher. In terms of like new longs and stuff, it's tricky to step in right up here at the top of the range, or at least at new highs, I should say, getting into the top of the broader range, going back to like January of 2025, which I don't believe is this Solana all-time high, was it? I guess it was. But anyway, sorry, lost my train of thought here for a second. As we move up into this red box here, I do imagine we'll get some sort of rejection, and new longs, really that 38.2 zone's way down here. So it's like hard for me to get too serious about buying Solana unless we get a sizable pullback. So like that's all the way down to 171, like some sort of and that's assuming this is the top right here, but some sort of like big dip to buy to get some sort of structure to think trend continuation. I do think like if we can get a dip down in this area and some sort of bottom like that, I do think that sets up a pretty nice trade, just from like $175, for example, up to like whatever the top of the range here, and ultimately hopefully new highs. I mean, I'm long Solana. I would love to see it move higher here. But we'll just see. Right now, it's just sort of grinding higher and is showing signs of better strength than Ethereum and Bitcoin. Now, I'll just end with, I'll end with these three majors by saying I do expect higher on all of them into the end of the year. It's just have to get through this pullback right now first. And it doesn't present a lot of opportunities for investors, though. Everything's already too high for investors. So I think that's tricky. If you are a trader and you have your plan in order, then I do think there'll be like swing longs setting up in this September bottom. But pretty hard to suggest you should go buy investment longs here. But you do what you want. I'm not telling you what to do. I do think there's probably better opportunities elsewhere. And one I think is just Pump. Like Pump.fun, I think is a great opportunity. And it's actually showing a lot more strength here. I'm going to go to a 4-hour chart just to see some more candles here because it's been a newer issue. But you can see Pump is actually looking, and maybe it's benefiting from Solana strength a little bit, but Pump got kind of a rough start after their ICO, and now it's even still where it's sitting right here. I think the ICO price was 0.004, so it's trading below the ICO price after kind of getting wrecked after the ICO, and I think they were facing some like, Bonk's launch platforms started picking up a lot of users during this time and sort of hurt Pump Fund briefly. But I was looking at like um, the fee generation, and Pump's definitely rising again. And hilariously, Pump makes about the same amount in fees as Hyperliquid, which is insane. At like a tenth of the market cap, Hyperliquid is about 10 times the size of Pump, and clearly the king of fee generation right now. But really, like, I would say Hyperliquid and Pump are like the kings of fee generation. But Hyperliquid is trading at a relatively reasonable location, like just barely above the 61.8 right now. And so I don't really love chasing it right here. I was buying down in this area when it dipped down into my blue box here, but I I don't really love chasing it right here, but at the same time, I think Pump represents a reasonable place to allocate funds here because Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solar are more difficult. And I do think that this is a killer platform that's earning a shit ton of money, and they got like $1 billion in cash or something like that just sitting. And they are buying back the token. They're just, they're doing it sort of a random, like they just recently bought a bunch back, I think, probably putting in this bottom, and they don't have like a automated schedule for buying back the token, but they are diverting some of their revenue to buying this back, which can't hurt. So anyway, I like Pump going forward here. Preferably would just see some sort of dip here. I don't know if it's just going to rip straight up from here, but ideally I'd like to see it down back against like 0.003 or something, or 61.8 and below. But if it does dip down there, I think that's a great buying opportunity. And just as a comparison, like I said, Hyperliquid is 10 times the size about market cap wise. And clearly, Hyperliquid just made a new all-time high recently, like a few days ago, and now has gotten kind of like Ethereum, just sort of broke to a new high and got immediately rejected. And I love Hyperliquid going forward, to be honest, but it's just tricky to step in here and buy. And I'm hoping for that same sort of 38.2 dip on Hyperliquid too. I think for like new swing longs, really want to see a move down into here, which is what, $35 to $30 about. And just lastly, just you can see the 200 period moving average. Didn't look at this on Ethereum, but clearly pointing higher, showing me that the trend is definitely up. Clearly in a higher highs and higher lows situation here, but we'd really love to see a dip down against this 200. We haven't seen that yet. Of course, we didn't have enough data to draw it here, but we haven't had a test of the 200 here yet, and I do expect that to happen. And then hopefully see a nice bounce there to move higher. And just as a comparison, I mean, you can see how in Bitcoin's bull run, it originally broke out, tested the 200, made a higher move, tested the 200 again. Even going below, which isn't uncommon, but like Wing around, breaking out again, testing it again, and sort of putting in new W's and breaking out again. So we've already had like 1, 2, 3, 4 solid tests of the 200. So it's very common in a strong uptrend, and Hyperliquid hasn't seen one yet. So I'll probably see that, and I think that represents the next buying opportunity for Hype. But definitely going forward, I think Pump and Hype are two of the strongest altcoins. Definitely be watching those, and I like Pump for location way better. I think Pump has, like, again, trading below the ICO price still, and showing strength on a otherwise weak day in crypto. So looking forward to seeing what happens there. And that said, I think I'll leave it here for today. Just a quick market review, and I'll see you on the next one.